Honorable Minister, your time starts now.
Mr. Speaker, for the sixth time since the PPPC government took office in 2020, I proudly rise in this honorable House to lend my unwavering support to a budget that yet again reflects our government's timeless commitment to progress and prosperity. I extend my sincere appreciation and congratulations to my colleague, the Honorable Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, and his dedicated team at the Ministry of Finance, my other esteemed colleagues and their staff, and my own staff from the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. I say thank you to all of you. Mr. Speaker, I do find it quite disturbing, unsettling to say that before me, I had an individual, a member of this House, who has the title of Shadow Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. The truly disturbing part is that I cannot imagine how a relatively young and vibrant person as myself is capable of casting such an enormously uninspiring shadow. Mr. Speaker, that was the most disappointing budget speech I have heard from the Honorable Ganesh Mahipal in all of the presentations that he has made. And perhaps that was not a performance for the people of Guyana or for the PPPC government, but for maybe the leader of the opposition. And before I even get into the budget, I will speak to Mr. Mahipal, honorable member, and dispense with him and move on. Mr. Speaker, when I came in to local government, I heard the chatter of Mr. Mahipal being an officer in the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. And it prompted me to do a little bit of research of my own to see what exactly the honorable member had as his functions in the Ministry of Local Government. And you would be surprised to know, or perhaps not, that he carried the title of Regional Information Officer.
Misinformation.
And in the ordinary context, it would mean somebody who has a public relations duty. But this particular member, Honorable Mahipal, was bringing and carrying news. That was all it was, bringing and carrying news.
Fake news.
And fake news. Further, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Mahipal's designation changed from Regional Information Officer to Community Development Officer. So I went even further. I called the regional officers to find out whether there was in fact a file, because you know Mr. Mahipal comes to the Honorable House and he pontificates and he brings a 97% AI speech and he comes like he knows everything that's going on and that he is the most pious individual. So I thought perhaps he had a file that had all these stack of immaculate and well thought out process of what he was doing. But did you know, Mr. Speaker, that the regional officers could not find one thing that he did in the communities of Region 3 as the community development officer? Not one thing. Not one thing. Collecting a salary from the government of Guyana at the time and doing nothing to develop any community in Region 3. You know what is more, Mr. Speaker, is that I even visited the communities to find out whether in fact he did anything, he knew anyone. One man said, yes, I know him. But you know what? You know what he was doing in there? Not developing the community. He was getting the resources from Gaisuko and using it. The sugar. And when he was finished with that, Mr. Speaker, he didn't talk about development for the community. This is what it was. Here, his biggest and brightest aspirations, his biggest and brightest aspirations, not to be the president, not to even be the local government minister, but to be the leader of the opposition. That is his biggest and brightest aspiration to the country to this country. Not a single thing as a community development officer. This minister, as the first female minister in the history of Guyana to sit in the local government ministry, where this government, the PPPC, had the foresight to see that women can play a great leadership role in government. And a gentleman who was on the other side, an officer in the very ministry for years, did nothing to contribute to the development of any community. And you know what? And you know where the evidence is? When they licked them up in Region 3 in all the communities in the local government elections and the general elections in 2020. That is where the evidence was.
Listen, my boy, listen.
You know, there is a principle in law that says when you come in equity, you must come with clean hands. You must come with clean hands. The honorable member stood up here this morning and spoke about misuse of funds, spoke about everything under the sun, about what the PPP couldn't do and didn't do and should have done and did wrong, and procurement fraud. But, Mr. Speaker, I remind that when you come in equity, as in the principle of law, you must come with clean hands. And, Mr. Speaker, I will go further. This honorable member who stood up in this house and made allegations by shouting and pontificating, this member misused the funds from the UGS.
Minister, we'll have to not go down that road, right? Because you're imputing, unless you have something to bring to the House.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker?
Imputing, right? Unless you have something to bring
Mr.
to the
Speaker,
House.
I will lay over the newspapers articles that I have from Kaichor News Online. This is a member, please, sir, and I'm going to speak on it, sir. And I will lay it over. This is the headlines from the Kaichor News, May 8, 2013, that I will lay over. UGSS president admits to misusing funds. That's the headline. To be sent on leave to facilitate internal audit. But you know there is a trend over there, please, Mr. Speaker. Because when the former finance minister was asked about the signing bonus, it was hidden. It was hidden. When was asked about it, caught red-handed, he said it was a gift. When the honorable member, it was brought to the public's attention, and he admitted to misusing funds, he then retracted and said, I borrowed it. I borrowed it. There is absolutely no credibility coming from any one of them over there. No credibility whatsoever they stand on. What is more, Mr. Speaker? Now, what is more, Mr. Speaker? I will go further down the line. This honorable member, again, an officer who is being paid by the government in 2020, His Excellency was sworn in on the 2nd of August 2020. And on the morning of Monday morning, no Minister of Housing from this government was sworn in. No Minister of Government was sworn in, but he there at the door at 6:30 waiting for it to open so he could collect his house lot. That is what it was.
Shameless.
Waiting at the door to collect it right after the president was sworn in on Sunday, hurrying to get it. And you talk about wanting to take care of the people, you took care of yourself first. First. You took care of yourself first. I'll go down the road, Mr. Speaker. I sat in this facility for 33 days in the 5 months that they were trying to steal the elections. 33 days, and all 33 days, this gentleman, the honorable member, stood in this house. stood in this house.
Your name calling.
Stood in this house and aided and abetted the rigging of an elections in 2020. You know, when the people knew who he was, not as a community development officer, they knew him from going on the media outside of this facility and try to justify why they were rigging an election and come in this honorable house and use words like democracy. Use words like democracy when you have committed the worst, the most heinous crime on our constitution and our people in this country. And you stand up and you want to stand on legs of credibility, come with clean hands first. Come with clean hands first.
My boy, you bring your lawyer, boy. You bring your lawyer, my boy. My boy, you brought your lawyer. You brought your lawyer.
Mr. Speaker.
You brought your lawyer. My boy, you
Mr.
brought
Speaker,
your lawyer.
I will now move.
Your attorney.
And Mr. Speaker, the honorable member can come to this house and say whatever grade he believes anybody can get. But that honorable member has never sat where I'm sitting. That honorable member has never achieved what I have achieved, even being an officer in the Ministry of Local Government. And I will tell the honorable house just what the Ministry of Local Government has achieved over the years. So hold on.
Thank you, Sonia.
I'm moving on now to the Honorable Vince Roy Jordan, who spoke about also everything under the sun and region number 5. And region number 5.
Tell them. Tell them, Sonia.
So let's talk. Let's talk, Honorable Vince Roy Jordan.
Tell them. You can't take it. Tell them. With much clarity. Tell them.
Mr. Speaker, I was assigned earlier as the ministerial representative for region number 5. And the honorable member lives in one of those villages. Now there was an outreach, and this is for all the youngsters. There was an outreach that was held where a resident of Belladrum asked that a community building be used as a hub, for a computer hub for the development of the youths in that area.
Tell them, Sonia.
For that area. So I went back, I called the resident, I went back to that community hub. So she can show me how we can be able to rehabilitate it. But lo and behold, the Honorable Vince Roy Jordan drove himself from Lovely Lass to Belladrum and stood up in front of the door. Stood up in front of the door to block me from entering into the community building. Under the guise of not having the keys, of it being robbed, they have to do an inventory, and so God knows if they swallow the keys or they throw away the keys or whatever it is. But they stood up there, and he not only blocked the door, but he blocked the development of the youth in Belladrum. Why you don't go back and tell them that? And Mr. Speaker, when I put it on live, when I placed it on live, Mr. Vince Roy Jordan, the honorable member, jumped on a live of his own and changed the story from a missing key so that the PPP want to establish an office in Belladrum. Well, I want to tell you something, sir. The PPP can go to any corner, any community. They don't have to set up an office. They will be effective anywhere they go. Anywhere they go, they will be effective. Mr. Speaker, this Honorable Vince Roy Jordan was the one who stood up there and blocked the development of the youths in Belladrum and come to this honorable house and say that nothing is being done for Region 5. Mr. Speaker, I am there every week, and I can tell you the development on the agriculture. I can tell you the development on the education. I can tell you the development on the Ministry of Health.
Honorable members, when the honorable member, Mr. Mahipal, was speaking, he had much more respect from the House. I want to I want to say to those members who are shouting and not in their seats, if you want to engage, go back to your seat. Right? Honorable Minister, please continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Region 5. Region 5, the honorable member spoke about pensions, spoke about having people sitting down for a long time, having people travel from a far way to go and collect their pensions, go and get medical care. But the very area that he spoke of, the APNU AFC did nothing from 2015 to 2020 to develop any health center. But the PPPC established the Esau and Jacob Health Center, which will service the very same persons that he's talking about. Development never came under them. It came under the PPPC at all times. At all times. So when they want to talk about development, they must come with clean hands, please, sir. You want to know something else, Mr. Speaker? In all of the years, 2015 to 2020, they talk about the Bushrot School. They did nothing. They did nothing. They rehabilitated the Belladrum School. And up to now, Mr. Speaker, this government is expending money to maintain that school because of the poor job that was done on that school. And we're building 3 more schools in that region. So do not come here and tell me that we have done nothing. Don't come here and tell me that. Mr. Speaker, this is another gentleman, the Honorable Mr. Vince Roy Jordan, who is disconnected from the rest of his colleagues because everyone else is talking about closing the sugar estate. It cannot be revived. And he's standing up here like a big joke and saying, we will resuscitate the sugar estate. So disconnected from the rest of your colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I will move now. That's only a part of their track record and a lot of ours. And we have much more. But Mr. Speaker, allow me to move. I heard them talking about show the evidence of rigged elections. Well, here is what, Mr. Speaker. Let's go to this. The Human Rights Watch report. And you know, if you can't find that available, just Google it. Just Google and it'll come up. The Human Rights Watch report of 1990 on electoral conditions, and this is for the Honorable Chief Whip of the Opposition. And this is what it said, please, sir, I'm quoting. In the 24 years since independence, massive systematic electoral fraud has denied the Guyanese people their right to freely elect their government, unable to express themselves politically in free and fair elections, and constricted by the repressive pressures of a single dominant party. Hundreds of thousands of Guyanese have sought freedom by emigrating principally to the United States and Canada. That is what you did. You drove the people out of their own country. And fast forward to 2020, they transparently tried to steal the elections on TV. Imagine back then you had a TV, you had a phone, they're throwing ballot boxes in the trench. 2020, on TV, with observers in their presence, they tried to steal elections and hold the Guyanese people hostage for 5 months, collapsing our democracy in our country, placing us on a global scale of embarrassment. And they stand here and want to talk about credibility and democracy. You are not qualified to speak on those 2 terms. You are not qualified to speak on those 2 terms. Mr. Speaker, over the past few days, I have listened, not without discomfort, as members on the APNU AFC benches put forward over and over again wholly misguided assertions, selectively manipulating data, in an attempt to convince the Guyanese people that all the benefits that they have enjoyed since the PPPC returned to office are not good and real, that they have enjoyed. And I'll get to some of those just now. I'll get it, hold on. You have to listen. And Mr. Speaker, the phrase that keeps resurfacing is track record. It seems as though these honorable members are either intent on rewriting history by word of mouth or under the mistaken belief that the people of Guyana will not hold them accountable for their own track record. Let us be clear, Mr. Speaker. There is only one party in Guyana, and I say this without fear of contradiction, that there is only one party in Guyana whose track record boasts of progress, development, and unity, and that is the People's Progressive Party Civic. Mr. Speaker, every time we bring the facts to this House, the opposition members, they scramble for cover. They scramble for cover, crying that we're going back to the past. But let us be clear, it was in 2020, in that full view of the world, that they proved beyond a doubt that the very electoral fraud they denied for decades was in fact their modus operandi. This time, it was not hidden behind closed doors or whispered in political circles. In the 27 years between 1965 and 1991, while the economy of Barbados grew by 1,100%, Trinidad by 400%, Jamaica by 260%, the Guyanese economy under the PNC reflected zero growth. Zero growth, with an external debt as a percent GDP being 729.7% in 1991. That is their track record. Compare that with when the PPPC left office in 2015, where we made no attempt to fraudulently hold up the country. The external debt stood at 26.7% of the GDP. Mr. Speaker, over the last couple of days, it was not only the policies and programs of the PPPC that came under attack by the opposition, but the people of Guyana have also been on the receiving end of the vitriol. We had the Honorable Member, Jurita Finance, who opened the debates on Friday, looking down. And I find it quite reprehensible that an honorable member will come to this House purporting or pretending to represent the vulnerable groups in our society, the working class, the young people, and will come and strip those people of their dignity because they choose to have an honest job in the hospitality industry under the part-time program as a garbage collector, or however you look at it. And what is even more is that following that speech, there was a disturbing trend that was developing, attacking all of those who were seeking to make an honest living in our economy. And you know what? We're proud of them that they can make an honest living. We're proud of them that we can create the environment for them to be financially stable. Mr. Speaker, their attack on the part-time workers program under the Ministry of Local Government is not just an attack on policy. It is an attack on the thousands of hard-working men and women who now have a means to provide for their families. And let us be clear, when the opposition belittles this initiative, as the Honorable Ramjatan called it a slush fund, as someone else called it, belittle the people who are actually working in these positions, they are effectively telling over 15,283 workers, 75% of whom are women, that their effort, their dignity, and their financial independence means nothing. They are telling these women we now have an opportunity to earn an income they previously did not have, that they are simply wasting time. This is coming from the very same people who kept quiet when in 2015 to 2020, they were telling people to go fry plantain chips and sell it, to go sell dog food. And you know what? Even if you sell plantain chips or dog food, you would have done an honest job. But But you all didn't attack it then, but you're attacking the people who want to upgrade themselves. The part-time program. Numerous persons in Region 3 have moved on from the part-time program and have become nurse aides. Nurse aides. They have taken the opportunities that the government have given them to upgrade themselves. Some of them have gone into permanent employment. So, honorable members, when you're looking down on these people, be careful what you do, because it's the very same people you're going back to for their votes. Mr. Speaker, let us talk about what this so-called waste of time looks like. Through the Pathway Workers Project, 2,558 of the 15,000 workers are from the hinterland, Region 1, Region 7, and Region 9, who have been able to secure employment and contribute meaningfully to their households and their communities. This government has invested billions annually to ensure that these workers are not only earning a living, but are part of an inclusive economic structure that values their contribution. And what does that mean? Over 11,000 women, listen carefully, over 11,000 women now have financial autonomy with billions of dollars flowing into their hands each year. And this program has gotten $11 billion this year, which will see the expansion of the program, including and bringing in more persons who were previously unemployed and can now be gainfully unemployed for 10 days a month and can get a second job if they wish. That is development. Mr. Speaker, this is what the opposition considers a waste of time. Supporting our mothers, daughters, sisters in achieving financial stability something to scoff at? I think not. This government, on the other hand, values and respects every work in every sector. Mr. Speaker, in Region 5, there is a Miss Anissa, because of her 10-day job, was able to supplement earnings from her kitchen garden enough to leave her abusive home. They don't know the stories of young Christopher of Region 2, who works a 10-day job just so that he can both earn and physically take care of his sick mother. And these are the people that you are knocking every time you come in here and belittle them. Mr. Speaker, if the members on the other side would do their due diligence, they would know that many of these part-time workers have upgraded themselves through the GOAL initiative. And I want to go into another sphere of this. They talk about, Dr. Ashni Singh, they talk about not having oil money from 2015 to 2020. And they couldn't do what they were what we are doing now because we have oil money. The truth of the matter, Dr. Ashni Singh, is that they lack the competence to do anything in 2015. But I'll show you how. I'll show you how. This government awarded nearly 30,000 ordinary Guyanese scholarships online to pursue tertiary and technical education. Do you know that while crying that they don't have oil money, over $70 million, wrap your minds around it, 70 million Guyana dollars was spent on 3 ministers and 1 minister's 2 children in scholarships, while Region 8 and Region 9 got no scholarships in 2018 and 2019. None. And you didn't have oil money, but you could have taken that money and used it. But no, you didn't want to do that. You used it on yourself. You used it on yourself. In the Ministry of Local Government, here you go. Most of the money went into recurrent and not capital in 2015 to 2020. But you know also that was a trend throughout the other sectors. But you know why? They were using the money for their own benefits. Medicals abroad. The president had the most expensive vehicle of any president in the history of Guyana. And I have another one for you. You want to talk about misusing funds and not having all money? Here, the biggest one, Dr. Ashley, saying, you know this, you were in Parliament, you know this. $150 million spent on a feasibility study for the Demerara Harbour Bridge. And when an honorable member for the PPPC stood up in this Parliament, in the Parliament previously, and said, broke it down, that is 2.5 million Guyana dollars per a page of that feasibility study. A feasibility study which they did not use, So you want to talk about misusing funds? You want to talk about the honorable minister who had bed sheet bangles, brooches, and whatever else from his ministry? You want to talk about the honorable minister then who gave herself contracts through Video Mega? We can talk about all of that. We can talk about all that. You want to talk about the REO in Region 5 in 2017? Out of $90 million for drainage and irrigation, $59 million was given to one contractor. Auditor General report. You want to check that? You want to talk about it? We can talk about it. We can talk about it. We can talk about it. Again, when you're coming to this honorable house, come with clean hands. Don't come and tell us that you didn't have oil money and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. Minister Ashney, Minister Gail Teixeira, if on any given day a Guyanese wants a good laugh, they can pick up this. They can pick this up. They want a good laugh, they can pick this up. I laughed the whole way last night. All laugh for hours. Let's go. Ministry of Local Government, on the local government. And you know what? The Ministry of Local Government didn't exist in 2015 to 2020. They merged it under the Ministry of Communities with 4 other ministries. Right? Why? Because you can't take the blows? You don't want me to go on? Hey, let's talk about this. Page 17 of the APNU AFC's manifesto. Regional and local government priorities. Here we go. They announced the date for...
Minister, before you go, you'll need an extension.
Mr. Speaker, I can't hear myself. Mr. Speaker, I can't hear myself. I would like to ask...
I can't hear you either.
I'd like to ask that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude her statement.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Minister Parag, you have 5 minutes to conclude your speech.
Let's talk about the manifesto. I'll jump straight to page 21. Look, the strategic plan for Region 10. Listen to this, Minister Ashney, again. That's the point 1. Create a strategic development plan for Region 10. Rescue and modernize the bauxite industry. Invite and support foreign investment for reputable and known multinationals to develop an aluminum industry in Guyana. Create new jobs. These are the same people who closed down the call center and locked people out of jobs. When the PPPC came in office, restored the call center, 250 persons now have jobs in Region 10. And talk about job creation. Develop 200 hectares of intermediate savannas for citrus cattle. Lowenfield, the CEO of the rigging machine of GCOM, gained most of that land. Intensify block making capability to support the APNU AFC housing program. Transform Linden to make it the main entry point for ecotourism. Yes. Establish a University of Guyana campus in Linden, offering courses relevant to the development needs of 7, 8, 9, and 10. This government made the University of Guyana free. The Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development will improve on their solid waste management this year. They have gotten the budget of 13.2. We have engaged the people of the community. We don't sweep issues under the rug. We have the political will, we have the competence, and we will take the political responsibility to get it done. And so, Mr. Speaker, with that, we will have new compactor trucks equipping the NDCs. We will have We will now also have the firefighting mobile vehicles that were procured from the Home Affairs Department to assist as a first response from the local democratic organs in the communities, 40 of which are here already. We will continue to create landfill sites. 13 were already created from 2020 to now. We will also go from Region 2, Region 3, Region 4, Region 5, Region 6, Region 9, and Region 10 with new landfill sites in 2025 budget. We have finished the charity market, the Parika market, the Hydroni market, the Lenora market, and we will start with the Saudi market, and we will continue creating economic viability for the communities, please, sir. We will also ensure that the subventions, and we want to talk about subventions and what you gave. Do you know that every year since 2021, the NDCs, inclusive of the APNU controlled ones, have been in receipt of a grant in addition to their subvention under the subvention program of $4 million, and in some cases $5 million, taking it to $10 million and $9 million. You don't know this. You don't know this because you don't do anything. You don't know that. This year, $2.8 billion is under the subvention program, and we will ensure that the NDCs can utilize them to enhance and upgrade their communities. We will strengthen the regional system by putting the citizens' desk in the NDCs to accommodate all of those pensioners, those public assistants, all the services that government are being offered, all the services that are being offered by government, in terms of accessing information and where they can go. Pensions right now are being paid in the communities. It's being paid in the communities. And the bare minimum standards will be established and already being established at the health centers across the country and the schools across the country. One of the first service meetings we had this year was with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Local Government, the RHOs, the REOs, and the REDOs to ensure that we implement these things. What are they? Putting a shed, ensuring that we have proper sanitary blocks, make sure the buildings are painted, make sure the facilities are working, ensure that we have proper seating, and for those patients and those residents who are chronic patients of those health centers, they are to create a register and they are to be given 3 months supply at a time of their medication. Excellent. Excellent. All the schools will be painted, the walkways will be done, the tarmacs will be looked at, and facilities inclusive of the sanitary blocks will be done. So you want to know where the regional money is going? That's where it's going. And if we're to just take Region 3, upgrade health centers, post there, Belle Plaine, Belle West, Blenheim, Caledonia, Zealandia, Canal Number 1, Canal Number 2, Decandron, Fort Island, Good Intent, Greenwich Park, Lagrange, Louisiana. And we can go on from every single region that we have, Mr. Speaker. Every single region. We can upgrade there. Oh, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member Ronald Cox spoke earlier about the things that the APNU AFC did, and his biggest accomplishment was the 5 Bs. The 5 Bs. But do you know that the bus from the 5B in Region 1 has been down since 2018 and cannot be taken care of because of the maintenance cost since it has been bought? Well, we are going to add one more, brainless. We're going to add one more word to that 5B. We're going to make it 6 Bs, brainless. Brainless.
Minister, you have 30 seconds to wrap up.
Thank you very much. All the regions, we have done tremendous work through the Ministry of Local Government in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health. And at this point in time, Mr. Speaker, I will close by saying, no weapon formed against the development and progress of this country shall prosper. No amount of noise, distraction, or political theatrics can erase the fact that this government is delivering real results for the people of Guyana. We stand resolute and unwavering in our commitment to progress. Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I wholeheartedly support this budget.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.